Thank you, Chairman Brewer and members of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee for the hearing today. For the record, my name is Steve Halloran, S-T-E-V-E-H-A-L-L-O-R-A-N, and I represent the 33rd District. I'm here today to present my legislative resolution, LR 14, which calls for the state of Nebraska to call for a limited Article 5 Convention of States, which would discuss and potentially propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution, and I emphasize the word propose. It takes 34 states with matching resolutions to call a convention. Currently, 15 states have passed resolutions that match the language in LR 14. In 2020, there were 23 states where there is either active Convention of States legislation or it has already passed in one chamber. Once that 34 state threshold is met and an Article 5 Convention of States is called, and through a convention process amendments are proposed, those proposed amendments would still have to be ratified by 38 states as laid out in Article 5 of the United States Constitution. All proposals have to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. LR 14 calls for a convention to propose amendments in the following areas. 1, impose fiscal restraints on the federal government. 2, limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. And 3, limit the terms of office for its officials and for members of Congress. By requiring matching resolutions by 34 states, it naturally creates a structured framework for topics discussed during the convention. Let me repeat that. By requiring matching resolutions by 34 states, it naturally creates a structured framework for topics discussed during the convention. All 34 states will be disciplined from their own state legislatures to stick to limiting discussions to the 3 topics. One item submitted to the committee today is a report commissioned by the U.S. Department of Justice at the request of the Attorney General to study Article 5. That report concludes that Article 5 conventions are limited and the process, including ratification, is safe. I wanted to make sure everyone had a copy of this report. I would like to shift gears a bit and take a few minutes to refute some of the arguments from those who oppose an Article 5 Convention of States, which you will hear from later in the hearing. You will hear the terms, quote, runaway convention, end of quote, and, quote, con-con, end of quote. A con-con refers to a constitutional convention. A constitutional convention is convened to write a new government charter, as was done in 1787, to fix the failed Article of Confederation. Through that process, the Constitution was created. Note that it took 3 years for 13 states to ratify the newly created Constitution. Clearly, even that convention was not a runaway process. However, an Article 5 Convention of States operates within the U.S. Constitution as a method to propose amendments to the Constitution, not as an instrument to rewrite the Constitution. Article 5 explicitly states that a convention can only meet for the purpose of proposing amendments. The Founding Fathers wisely decided that there needs to be 2 ways in which amendments could be proposed. In case the federal government became too powerful. Article 5 provides equality between Congress and the states. Then there is the fear of a runaway convention. You'll hear that term frequently. They will tell you that we won't have control of the process. That's that once a convention of states convenes, the delegates from each state will become drunk with power and propose amendments outside the scope of which the convention was called. Remember, 34 individual states with matching resolutions call for an Article 5 Convention of States. Clearly, these states have a mutual understood purpose. I do have a bill, LB 195, Adopt the Faithful Delegate to Federal Article 5 Convention Act, that will ensure that Nebraska delegates to an Article 5 convention will be bound to the scope of the subject matter in the state's application to a convention of states. You will hear more about this bill very soon. Other states have adopted similar legislation that would put constraints on their delegates. Second, one could reasonably agree that delegates, commissioners, would conduct in a civil manner, much like other interstate compacts. But let's just say that for some unknown reason, delegates or commissioners of the states represented at the convention go off the rails and pass, by a majority vote of its members, propose amendments to the United States Constitution that fall outside the scope of the called convention. Say, eliminate the Second Amendment or outlaw abortion. Those proposed amendments would still have to be sent to the states for ratification. Remember, it takes 3/4 of the states, 38 states, to ratify an amendment to the Constitution. This is the same high ratification benchmark required by Congress when Congress proposes amendments to the Constitution. So let us focus on how Nebraska would handle the ratification process of a proposed amendments to the federal Constitution, be they either proposed by Congress or by a convention of states. Article 4, Section 2 of the rules of the Nebraska Unicameral Legislature states, quote, when considered as a bill, resolutions which propose amendments to the state constitution, propose the ratification or rejection of amendments to the federal Constitution, or memorialize the Congress with regard to amendments to the U.S. Constitution, shall be considered and adopted in the same manner as bills, end of quote. Given that a proposed amendment to the United States Constitution would be referenced to this committee, the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee, the same process of public notice, public testimony, and committee member questions would be engaged. Then the bill would have to go through the executive committee process of voting the bill out of committee. If passed out of committee, it would be on to the legislative floor for debate. If the bill is allowed to be fully debated and the bill is passed by the Nebraska legislature, it would have to be ratified by the state of Nebraska. A similar process would need to be conducted by the other 49 bicameral state legislatures. If and only if 38 of the 50 states ratify proposed amendments to the United States Constitution, does the amendment get added to the United States Constitution? That is an extremely high bar to achieve, as it should be. To date, 33 amendments to the United States Constitution have been proposed. 27 of these have been ratified by a requisite number of states. By my limited math skills, that leaves 6 proposed amendments that have yet to be ratified. So the fear of a runaway convention is absurd. There are a multitude of procedural layers and steps before any proposed amendment is added to the United States Constitution.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks were willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.